Welcome to the DeFi Standard, and this is Mickey B. Fresh.
And Patty XRP.
And today we're going to do a rundown of the recent snapshot that took place on Sunday, December 12th at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And this was for the EXFI airdrop, and you will not receive your EXFI until January 1st, but this has concluded the snapshot. So we're going to do a little run through of what has taken place and what to expect here, Patty, moving forward over the next month or two.
Absolutely. So like Mickey said, this past Sunday on the 12th at roughly 1 o'clock Eastern Standard Time in the afternoon, the snapshot was completed. Flare Finance has put the block number out on Twitter, so everybody knows which block is going to be used, and whatever your holdings of Songbird or Wrap Songbird were during that time in any eligible spots, so like self-custody wallets or as collateral in EXFI, those will all be included. When this airdrop happens, if you had it in a self-custody wallet, then it will get delivered directly to that wallet. And I believe Bifrost, especially if people are using that, will automatically update the UI so that you can see it without adding a custom token. But it's possible on that date you may have to add a custom token address to view it. Same thing would go with like something like MetaMask as well. If you had it in EXFI, so if you're providing liquidity during that time or we're using it as collateral, then I imagine there's going to be some kind of claiming function through the EXFI UI that you're going to hit to receive those tokens. Now, going down here, originally it was going to be for every 235 Songbird or Wrap Songbird you have, you would get one EXFI. However, for any exchanges that hadn't delivered Songbird yet, and Flare Finance didn't know if they would distribute EXFI if they dropped it to them as well, they've been cut out of the airdrop, so they will be blacklisted when the final distribution goes out, and we'll know a ratio closer to the airdrop date. Now, moving on down here, we have a little updated timeline for the rest of EXFI, as well as kind of moving into the finalized version of all this when we rebrand to Songbird Finance. So obviously we just had the snapshot on January 1st. Then you will get the EXFI tokens in your wallet address. Then also on that same date, so January 1st, the new year, EXFI Gamma will begin with Flare Farms V2 and Flare Loans V2 launching to reflect new rewards in the form of SFIN. It will support EXFI yield farming and minting canned with EXFI. One thing I don't know, Mickey, here is if we're going to have to migrate to a new version of the protocol, like we, had to do if you were in on EXFI V1. So that's something to be, keeping your eyes out for if you possibly need to exit positions on the current version of EXFI. So trying to get word on that from the team currently.
Well, why are we on V2 right now?
Yeah, we're on EXFI V2. So I don't know if it's just the, dictation here. Yeah, so I reached out earlier today, and we'll let people know as we kind of.
But what's nice
on there,
what's nice is that you're going to be able to use your EXFI tokens right away when you receive them. So I think that's important to note here. Is that on the 1st, it looks like you're going to be able to use those in Flare Loans and then yield farming to earn SFIN. And I think that's the main governance token of the Songbird Finance, and then you'll be able to mint Canary dollars with that, with EXFI. So the token will have utility and ability to use it as soon as you receive it on January 1st. So I think that's just important to know that when you receive this, be prepared to use it. And if you aren't participating in Songbird Finance right now in EXFI, you should go on there and get used to using it so you're ready for when the EXFI token comes out and how to utilize that to max benefit.
Yeah, so I think the nice thing is, based on their original plans for Flare Finance, YFlare, which is the secondary governance token for Flare Finance on the Flare network, that was going to have a single token staking pool within Flare Farm so that you could get YFIN. I believe they're probably going to have the same thing here with Songbird Finance, where you'll be able to just stake EXFI directly in Flare Farm to earn SFIN. Sure, the reward rate probably won't be as good as if you were providing liquidity and stake LP tokens, but that's because liquidity providers are taking on more risk than you would be just staking one token that's not being used for anything, but that will provide a really easy and safe option for people to use in the future. So that'll be cool. And then, moving on in this timeline. So January 10th, they're going to release all of their audits. So Halborn, Trail, Bits, and Certic. So we'll see all that stuff. And then on the 15th of January, EXFI will operate on Songbird Network, redubbed to Songbird Finance as the main point for deploying experimental finance modules and hopes of these new modules being pulled from Songbird Finance into Flare Finance. So at this point, I would imagine we'd start getting all the other applications that haven't come out yet. So like Flare Wrap, the governance staking pool, APY Cloud. So that's when we'd be looking to see those things. And the governance staking pool allows you to stake XFI and SFIN there to earn protocol revenue essentially. And all you're doing is staking your assets, so they're not being used for anything in that instance. If you say like, hey, wasn't the timeline different? Obviously, we're just going by what the team's saying here. So if there's changes, there certainly could be. But hopefully we'll see all this, launching by middle of January. Cool. So, Mickey, to kind of move on here to go through what happened yesterday, or not yesterday, I guess Sunday now. So 2 days ago, you can see, as people probably imagined, the price of Songbird was going to get bid up towards the snapshot. We saw it reach about, looks like 54 cents almost here. And then I was watching it when right before the snapshot occurred. You can see there was some sell off here. Some people bought up. And then right after the snapshot, we had a massive candle down. I was looking at it on BitTrue. So it was about from 54 down to roughly I think it got to 30 cents. There wasn't much of a wick on it. So people weren't buying up that liquidity being dropped on the market with Songbird. So obviously the price has had, a really severe dump to the tune of, over 50% at this point. It's still trying to find a bottom, it looks like to me. So this is something, I'm going to be monitoring the rest of the month, as I currently have a nest taken out of Flare loans, and I was providing liquidity. When it got to 30 cents, it was a little too close to comfort for my liquidation price, which was around 25 cents. So I did actually pay back some of that debt. The nice thing for me was I had been doing it for 20 days at this point. I'd been providing liquidity, and I actually had earned a decent amount of fees to where the price falling back down to there, I was kind of at break even. Definitely wish maybe I would have taken some profits at the table beforehand, but that's hindsight. No use worrying about that now. So what do you think about everything that happened on Sunday and I guess leading up to now?
Well, I think this was a situation of a very highly anticipated airdrop, and it's just one of many that are mixed in here. But it does show some of the design flaws of these airdrops and how they impact the market volatility. Now, this one probably is going to be the least, but it's only trading Songbird. It's a canary network. So we don't have the amount of exchange listings and liquidity that we'll have with, say, Spark when that's launched, because that will be on many exchanges, many big global exchanges. Right now, most of the liquidity for Songbird is on BitTrue, but we do have the liquidity on FlareX. So that arbitrage there between those two. But at the same time, you have people swapping from Songbird back to Canary dollars on FlareX, and from Songbird to USDT, Tether, or to XRP on the exchange. So you had these two forces basically going in the one direction, right? Out of Songbird, because Snapshot just happened, and we didn't have enough buying demand or liquidity at the time to pull that back up. And that's because the project, the platform is so new. And Songbird is the canary network, and it's just getting launched. We don't have the state connector system yet. We don't have F assets. So I think it's just really early days for a lot of this. And even XY itself is the first token of the platform. This is a distribution mechanism to get it out there into the hands of the community to then be able to utilize the token. It's not here to say, oh, thank you for holding Songbird, here's free money. No, it's for you to use the asset then in the applications that are coming up in the future. And I know people take advantage and just take the money and be off with it. I think that's something that we have to look at as a community and see if there's better ways to do some of these airdrops. I mean, this, at least they're not airdropping the token that is already of the token. And we'll talk about Solo because they're doing that in a way. And, I think it's just something to be concerning about a little bit. We'll just touch on it because it does have an impact here. Unless it has a use case directly out the gate, I think it's difficult to really not see a volatility event when that happens.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, another one of the things, if anybody kind of watched the, the congressional hearing last week, you saw Brian Brooks on there, and he was talking about, the lack of derivatives, the lack of ability to get liquidity into these markets makes them way more volatile. And certainly, Songbird's only trading in a few different places at this point. And really, there's not enough liquidity to kind of prevent something like this or forward looking tools where, most people are like, yeah, it's going to run up and then it's going to fall. But if you had things like futures and derivatives, you could kind of price that into the future and maybe the price wouldn't have run up as much leading into this. But, that's where we're at. We're dealing with a canary network, so volatility should be expected. It's also very nascent. It's maybe 3 months old at this point. So, the more nascent a blockchain is or a token is, the more volatile it's going to be until the market knows how to appropriately price it. We'll see what's going on here with Songbird over the next month or so. So that's kind of where I'm at. Definitely going to watch my CDP just to make sure I don't get liquidated or anything like that.
Mm-hmm. So I do want to touch on how there would be ways to do this in the future. I'm going to throw out there just one example. I know people have asked about this. I saw on Twitter, well, how can we do airdrops in a way that doesn't affect necessarily the volatility as much, and we could get the assets into the hands of the people who are most likely going to participate and weed out the people who are literally just in it. They're buying the token, they're buying Songbird just to get the EXFI, to dump, and then dumping both afterwards. If you could weed out those people and get it into the hands of the people who are at least likely to participate, I think that would help with some of these volatility events. So one way to do it that Patty and I have talked about is, say you're delegating to the FTSO providers, right? With your Songbird or with your Spark in the future. The project that's spinning up, say in the future, a new one, for just hypothetically, would use a historic snapshot of everyone who is delegating to the signal providers. And then it would use that date. So say that was 3 weeks ago. They would just take this historic snapshot. Nobody would know in advance, so nobody would be able to buy anticipating a snapshot, but it already happened. So everyone who is delegating is already at least participating. So they've shown some participation. We can't guarantee that they're going to participate in the new project, but at least they've shown some effort here. And I think that would be interesting to then use that historic snapshot and then airdrop to everyone who is delegating to an FTSO. I mean, you could narrow it down to a more granular level and, go to specific FTSOs. But I mean, that would have to depend on the specific project and how it was being built. This is kind of just a generic thing. It would weed out those people from coming in just to buy, to get a free token, to dump. So I think it's something to consider in the future for new projects spinning up. Since we have Flare is a data provisioning network, and we have this historic data of the FTSO, and we know exactly who's providing votes to it at every single point throughout every week and every epoch that goes by. So I think it's a tool that could be used these airdrops in the future and at least weed out the freeloaders and get it into the hands of people who at least have shown they can participate in the network.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't know if you mentioned it right there, Mickey, just because I was kind of thinking about something you said specifically. How Uniswap did it in the past. Did you bring that up right there?
Oh, so yes. So Uniswap was a unique situation because Uniswap was already functional. So they had liquidity pools out there. And they took a historic snapshot of everyone who was providing liquidity in those pools on a certain date. And then they airdropped the token based on those numbers. So nobody was able to game the system or provide liquidity early just to get in. It was a historic snapshot. And they went, I believe, I'm like 90% sure that they used the date of people already providing liquidity. They received then the airdrop on a future date. But they didn't tell people, oh, we're going to have a snapshot on this date, and then everyone rushes in. They used an old date, but that was to kind of distribute out the token to at least a community that was participating already. They were already providing liquidity, and they were using the Uniswap protocol to provide liquidity. And I think there might have been something in there with trading. I'm not 100% sure on all the details, but there was already a participation from the community members of that protocol, and then they received the native token of it and then turned it into more of a governance token from there. So it was a distribution mechanism to people who participate. They didn't just give it to everyone who had Ethereum. So it goes to show that kind of narrowing focus on the airdrop sometimes helps. Or, for example, Compound, they gave the liquidity mining token out. And that's how YFin and SFin are going to be distributed now. They're not going to be airdropped. Those are going to be liquidity mined. Basically, if you want to earn those governance tokens, you're going to have to provide liquidity to the Flare X, or you're going to have to stake with EXFI or YFlare in the future to earn basically that main governance token, which is going to be SFin and YFin. There will be no airdrops on that. There will be no supply. The only way to get it is through Flare Farm, basically. Or if you provide loans, you can get it as rewards that way. But only way to get it is on the platform. There's no handouts with that.
Yeah, and it's also being distributed over the course of 2 years as well. So a long run rate on that. And, why are we here with airdrops? Well, it's not particularly easy to, sell tokens to the public. Obviously, there's a lot of security issues evolving around that. And, if you decide to go that route, then you have a whole host of other legal issues you have to worry about. Airdrop is a pretty easy way to get your token out into the hands of participants in a network. Certainly, there will never be a way to only distribute to people that are going to keep the token and use it. Somebody's always going to want to sell it. And certainly if the tokens already have value, then they may also want to sell some of it to cover their tax obligations and things like that. So we'll have to see how this evolves in the future. I imagine it will keep evolving, and we'll see new ways of doing these airdrops. So to move into the next big one, which I know we haven't particularly covered a ton, Mickey, this is going to be a Sologenic airdrop and Snapshot. So the Snapshot is on Christmas Eve, so December 24th. I believe it's at 4 p.m. EST. I can't remember for sure. So if we look at, this price chart, the Solo token dropped as low as like 6 cents on October 28th and reached a high of $6.24, it looks like right here, maybe a little higher than that. So that's a huge move from, when this airdrop was announced in early November, how much it's moved up. That's because, they're dropping 100 million Solo tokens to Solo owners, and there's way less of the Solo token in circulation than there is XRP. Also, I think early on, a lot of people were going with the reported ratio like a month early, which you just can never really truly know the ratio until the actual airdrop happens. So more people have set up trust lines. More people will continue to set up trust lines, especially for XRP participants. And that'll just keep lowering the ratio over time. I think the Solo holders probably have a more set one just because that supply is, they already have the trust lines set up with Solo tokens.
So just to clarify here, there's 100 million Solo being airdropped to Solo holders, and there's 100 million Solo being airdropped to XRP holders. And there's a lot more XRP out there. So that's why there'll probably less per XRP than there will be per Solo that you hold in dollar value wise. So that's one thing that's running up right now. Because we have to separate how these airdrops are done. So why is this airdrop different than, say, Songbird's airdrop, Spark's airdrop, EXFI? The one difference here is that Solo is being airdropped to Solo holders. So that right there, that would be thinking like, if you had XRP, you would get XRP. We haven't seen that yet. Spark wasn't like that. Songbird wasn't. Even EXFI wasn't like that. So this is a unique dynamic here. And you also have XRP in the mix. So they're using the remaining supply of Sologenic tokens for this airdrop. So there's 200 million, I believe, outstanding, and there's 200 million that was left. That was in like a community fund, and now this is going to put it at a full supply of 400 million. So I think that's an interesting thing there, that the whole supply is being used for this. And they talk about using an NFT marketplace that they're going to develop. I know we're still waiting. They're waiting on licensing for the digital securities and tokenizing securities, because it's been about 2 years now since we've seen Sologenic launch. And it's a difficult regulatory environment to try to move into. And it's been a slow go, and kind of was expected here with tokenizing securities. But I think it's something that has a bright future. The question is, are they going to be able to capitalize here moving forward? Because it's been 2 years and we haven't seen too much development. It would be nice to see some more developments moving forward with Sologenic. So hopefully this will engage the community more, get people more active and participating. And we could see that it's already had that impact here, Patty. This price explosion here is, pretty impressive, coming from 6 cents all the way up to 4.50. So what's your thoughts moving forward here now into the snapshot?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, first off, the token has run up a crazy amount as far as, percentage-based gains. So, for me, we did see this pullback here when it reached up to like 630, and it's kind of going back up. I don't know how, high it will run up going into the snapshot. Certainly, I imagine people are going to be selling the Solo token after the snapshot because they'd be getting the airdrop in the future, and they've seen huge price appreciation on the Solo token. I don't really know how much it's going to sell off, so I don't want to, speculate that on that entirely. Also, the other thing we need to consider is the snapshots on the 24th of December, and I believe the airdrop date is like January 20th. It's roughly a month later. So, that's a long time until the airdrop actually comes out. And with the Solo token already on the market, I don't know what kind of effect that would have on the price. We also know that they're teasing an announcement, or a big announcement, for like December 20th leading into this snapshot. So I'll have to see what that is. I have thoughts about teasing, news announcements, but I'm not going to get into that. So we'll see if that plays an effect depending on what the announcement actually is for. The one thing I did want to bring to people's attention, and solely to distribute this information, and I'm not really going to add my opinion, we can see here that they're basically funds that they have. That is where the airdrop's coming from. It adds up to 50% of the total supply. The team received 35% of the Solo token supply, and the public, back when it launched, received 15% of the total supply. I believe so. Based on CoinMarketCap, the token launched like March of 2020. So, we're about a year and 3 quarters in, which in that regard, at least 50% of the tokens have vested for the team, and 50% of 35% is 17.5%. So if they haven't sold any tokens yet, they actually have a larger supply than the public currently does. So, take that into account when you're looking into this and what you want to do. Just realize the team has a lot of tokens. We've seen huge move up in the price, and they've vested about half of the tokens that are allocated to them, at least. So yeah, you got to take with that for what you will. This is from their white paper. If it's changed since then, I apologize, but that's where I'm pulling the information from. So.
All right. One thing I will say that Solo has done is got people more active with trading on the XRP ledger and using XUM. And that's one bright sign for the community here. As you see, I think there was something like hundreds. How many wallets have been created on XUM? Now, XUM is not a platform. XUM is just an access point for people to access their XRP ledger accounts. And with that XRP ledger account, there's different tools and apps that you could use with that. Like, for example, the DEX tool. So you could interact with the actually on-chain decentralized exchange. You could trade XUM wallet, which is non-custodial, and trade right from XRP to Solo, Solo to XRP. And that's a nice function now. We're seeing a lot more engagement from the community and a lot more awareness that, hey, I don't have to go on BitTrue to even trade Sologenic. I could just do it right from my XUM wallet with my XRP. And I do encourage to support the XRP ledger. And yes, I know some people with BitTrue and other exchanges, but I'm here. I think we should support. If you could buy this on the DEX and sell it on the DEX, you should do it on the actual XRP ledger and support the ledger's functionality like this. And the fees are super low, super easy to use, and it's all built right there in a non-custodial way. So moving forward, I think everyone should kind of look into utilizing the XRP ledger because this is built for you. I don't care what anyone says. I don't care what XRP2 says. The ledger is open source, public, decentralized. So you can pull up any Swift quote you want and try to twist it in any way you want. I don't like the XRP2 idea. I don't like the concept of it. I think it's insulting to the XRP community because we freely can use this project. It's kind of like a slap in the face to us because it's clearly open source, decentralized, and public. Anyone could use it. We're in the middle of an SEC lawsuit, and you could trade on the XRP ledger freely, and there's nothing the SEC could do about it. There's nothing any jurisdiction could do about it because it's public, open source, and decentralized. So Sologenic has made it a point to build on the XRP ledger. So that is one good thing, is that it is on the XRP ledger, and it's helped people engage in this. But I am not supportive of the XRP2 project. I do not like the concept. I do not like the idea behind it. I'm going to be adamant about that one.
Yeah, I was definitely turned off when I saw it pop up on the fact that, you know, it's that notion that XRP is only for banks or something like that. I'm like, I don't know. I've been using it for 4 years now. So I don't really get what your point is. But going back to Solo, I do want to add, they have their UI for accessing the DEX is super nice. And I know a lot of people that enjoy using that. Also, it looks like they're trying to get into like an NFT marketplace. And I do think that NFTs are already starting to blow up on the XRP ledger, and it will only continue as we get the XLS 20 standard out in the future next year. So I'm really curious to see, you know, how they evolve from here. And certainly I would love it if they can get that license one day to do the tokenized securities. I just zero clue on, you know, how long that could take, how difficult it is. I think, you know, for how long they've been trying to do it, it proves it's pretty difficult, but that would be a pretty amazing thing if they could pull that out and launch it on the XRP ledger. So we'll have to see how it goes, but any final thoughts, Mickey, or we can go ahead and wrap it up?
No, that's about all. We'll be covering this further in the future with the airdrop leading up to on Christmas Eve, which is an interesting time, and their announcement leading up to it. So for right now, I think that's all we got. I'm Mickey B. Fresh.
I'm Patty XRP.
And we're out.